You're listening to Healthcare Now Radio. Stand by for This Just In, the latest in healthcare innovation and technology trends with your HIT advisor, Justin Barnes.
Thank you for tuning in and welcome to This Just In. I'm your host, Justin Barnes. In these half-hour segments, I'll bring you the latest advancements in healthcare, strategy, innovation, and public policy. As always, we're broadcasting from the This Just In studios on the Business Radio X network, as well as the Healthcare Now radio network. For this episode, my 102nd episode, we're going to speak to the industry colleague, Neil Gomes, Chief Digital Officer, as well as Senior Vice President for Technology Innovation and Consumer Experience with Thomas Jefferson University in Jefferson Health. Welcome to the show, Neil.
Hi. Thank you, Justin. Thanks for having me.
We met about a couple months ago at the Health Innovation Think Tank event. And I know the entire group was very impressed with not only your presentation in your style, but also what you're creating at Thomas Jefferson and Jeff Health. So I was excited to have you on the show. I certainly want to walk through some of those strategies and best practices. But before we dive into all that, where do you live now? But more importantly, almost, is where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? A little bit of a background on you.
Sure. Well, right now I live in the New Jersey area and I work in Philadelphia. But a little bit about my story. I'm originally from a place called Goa in India. And studied in a Jesuit school there many years ago. And after I did my undergrad in physics and electronics, I then started an MBA. After I got done with my MBA, I started working for a company called the Tata Group of Companies. Not many people have heard of them. But mostly in India, but they're a Fortune 500 company, about a $108 billion company, a very large conglomerate. While I was with the Tata Group of Companies, I did a little bit of a startup within the Tata Group of Companies, along with a bunch of other people. This is a small company that stayed small for some time, but then with a little investment from the Tata Group of Companies, grew into one of the world's largest developers of custom e-learning applications. We went from about 60 employees when I was hired in 2000 to about 650 by the beginning of 2002. So in 2 years, we grew to a large company. And then I decided I was really passionate about what we were doing there, that I wanted to study it. And so moved to the US. To do my studies in a field called instructional technology, and did my master's there, worked for the same institution that I studied at, the University of South Florida in Tampa, and there grew another e-learning enterprise where we created a tremendous amount of momentum behind e-learning and technology-enhanced learning at the University of South Florida. With large numbers of enrollments in the 65 to 80,000 enrollments per semester there, and generated a lot of revenue with some good return. Mm-hmm. And then went on to into a foray into healthcare with USF Health. So I moved from USF Maine to USF Health, and there started working with some great minds, did a lot of corporate training as well as application development, and then moved to Jefferson in 2014 to work with the president and CEO here to create this digital enterprise in healthcare. The president and CEO had just started working with Jefferson and understood the value of technology. His name is Dr. Steve Klasko. Mm-hmm. He is a technologist at heart, but also a really great physician as well as a great leader. And so he sees this change in healthcare. He's a great visionary in that space, and and has invested in technology like I haven't seen any other institutions invest. Healthcare institutions and education institutions invest. So it's a great place to be.
So, no, thank you for that. So you guys have, quite a reputation. Jefferson Health certainly does, for digital health solutions and the consumer experience. How have you and your team contributed to this evolution?
Yeah, so I'm glad you said team, because that's really what it is. It's a great team effort. We've been able to build a really good team, and we've been very focused on doing it a certain way. Almost like the way that most great digital solutions get developed, which is like a startup, and we operate this company inside a company, as I call it, because I feel like that's something I know to do well. I did it at the Tata Group of Companies, did it here, did it at the University of South Florida, and now hopefully get the same results here at Jefferson, or even better. So the way that we've designed our team is one where we have a strong focus on design, a strong focus on development, but through Agile and Scrum principles and the Lean startup methodologies that we like using.
Yep.
And also a very, very strong focus on the consumer. So we feel that a lot of disruption in digital in multiple industries has happened because of a focus on the consumer. And so that has led us to developing this great reputation, because we not just create great services or products, but we do them in a way that they're meaningful to the organization, they're meaningful to the consumer, and they're meaningful also to the teams that make them, not just our team, but also the clinical teams that we work with, the academic teams that we work with.
Sure. So, and obviously, and I love in your discussion in your kind of your presentation during the think tank, you did focus a lot on the consumer aspect, and certainly the integration with digital health. So how do you see such solutions contributing to in shaping the future of healthcare?
Great. So if you look at several other industries, right, most of the disruption that has happened in travel, happened in hospitality, in retail. Even now we're seeing that not just stay in this digital space, but also move into the physical with Amazon, looking to buy Whole Foods. Mm-hmm. It's been digital platforms, right? I mean, the major disruptions in the last few years have been caused by infrastructure that supports these digital platforms, but primarily by digital platforms and people developing solutions around industries, and doing it in a way either that this innovation happens within companies that are just working towards creating a business, or other organizations that are coming in and optimizing, and there's a neat ecosystem about that. So I think the same is going to happen in healthcare, and has already started happening. You see the investments in digital health, they're tremendous, and there's a reason for that. There's a lot of things that in healthcare are broken and need to be fixed, and there really hasn't been a focus on the consumer or the customer as such, right? I mean, we provide a great service, we have great results, but we don't do it in a way that is service oriented or consumer focused. Our consumers and you and I, even as healthcare consumers, we take a lot, and we just say, okay, well, the value at the end of this is tremendous. It's my life, or it's someone else's life that I care about, and so I'll take the pain, right, in that process. If it's a weird bill, if it's waiting hours to see a physician, all of that, we bear that up. But slowly that is changing, and it's changing not just from the consumer perspective, but also from companies that offer this service, right? And they're saying, no, we can do better, and we can do better and sustain it, financially also. And so consumers are seeing that as the new product. And so we have to not like shy away from that, but embrace that concept and develop more on it, because it is making this entire environment of healthcare and the whole ecosystem better. So that's why I feel that a lot of healthcare companies have to become a little bit like software companies too, because they have to create their own digital platforms for delivery of great health via digital, in concert with digital, even if it's a very physical thing.
Yep.
And then they have to create their own flavor around it, and hence they have to enter this kind of realm, or else they'd be left behind. They'd be implementing someone else's solutions, may not always work best for them, and it could tremendously affect their ROI at the end of the day.
So when you say consumer-focused digital health, I guess what comes to my mind is number one, kind of wayfinding around a campus, but then also I see virtual care, telehealth, but even more so virtual care, appointment setting and management of appointments and scheduling. Do you see the same? And what else have I missed, or what have I left off there?
Yeah, those are the immediate, very, very important points that you brought up there, Justin. I mean, they're the immediate things that we see, when we think about digital health, because, we put ourselves into that situation and we feel, okay, this is what we would benefit from, right? Getting us there on time, in a way that is friction-free.
Yep.
Also, then from then on, doing follow-ups really well, telling us where to go if we need to do labs and those types of things while we're there to help us move around the place really well. Certainly all things that digital can do. But I feel it also goes deeper than that. Digital can also help with enhancing back-end processes, to make things easier. And I think we need to go that deep in order to see these results at the front end. Because you can create a great platform for wayfinding, for example, but if you get the person there very efficiently, and but they still have to wait 2 hours for an appointment, to see their physician, then all of that effort is for naught, right? Because okay, you got them there, they're happy, but now they're unhappy because they couldn't see the physician. Or if you increased access, services on the web, if you opened up access on the web, and then the patient only got an appointment like 3 months later, or worse still, nobody called them back if there was a callback situation, then that's a bad thing. So we have to look at the entire process and use digital technologies to enhance that, but also use design. And that's something that we do that's slightly different from most other digital organizations. And we work with the clinical groups almost ethnographically, going out to the practices and saying, okay, well, can we sit here? Can we observe? Can we see what's happening? Can we work very closely with you to understand what the problems are, what outcomes you want to generate, and then design digital solutions in concert with you to address each of those problems, and look at the entire ecosystem of a patient's experience, not just one episode in it. So that's what we do. We do take these things step by step. We do prioritize on what we do first and all of that, but I think you have to go deep and to solve the problems at the front end. But you're right, you pick the right areas, that affect a consumer at the front end digitally.
Yeah, no, but well said on your part. So I know there's a lot of buzz around artificial intelligence or AI and machine learning in healthcare. We saw a big splash at HIMSS 17. I know we're going to see a lot more coming in HIMSS 18 in the annual conference. But are we ready to call the iPhone or the Android phone our primary care physician?
Well, there's two questions in that, so I'll take them a little bit separately.
Sure.
Whether the AI and machine learning, right? I'll address that first. I think that is certainly a foundational enabler. It is not it's not the innovation. The innovation is the ultimate service that we provide that uses AI and ML, right? And artificial intelligence and machine learning. So we have to design solutions and services that leverage this new tool that we have, right, for healthcare, that is kind of getting a little bit commoditized also. So it makes it a little bit easier for people to use, to infuse into a clinical workflow and all of that. So that's the great and promising stuff about AI and machine learning. It's not something that's fake or something, it's something that actually works, that people have been using in other industries for tremendous amounts of time. And now we have this opportunity to use it in healthcare in a way that works for healthcare. So that's the great, it's not just buzz. I think there's real value there. We've done some work on multiple AI and ML platforms, more recently on the IBM Watson platform, where we are in the process of designing a cognitive patient concierge, right? So addressing the patient experience where we're trying to reduce anxiety and for a patient in an inpatient clinical setting, and at the same time, we are also doing it in a way that most other institutions can use it. We're almost productizing it along with them. And also it addresses real operational efficiencies in the clinical process, the care delivery process. So therefore, bringing back or returning some investment to the organization, time, money, so that it becomes a little bit more efficient. So, and that's using AI, that's using machine learning. So these are real examples, right? Now, your second question, are we ready to call our iPhone or Android phone our primary care physician? I don't think so. And I don't think that's the intent, at least from the digital innovation side. The goal is to produce AI and ML in the clinical setting that could augment the experience, right? So that the care that is being delivered, even if it's on a telehealth kind of call, let's say, right? And you're on a telehealth call, pure digital now that we're talking about, the physical experience is this person in, talking to you. We could augment that whole experience by collecting information that is relevant at the outset when the patient joins the call, let's say, then using that information to drive insights to the physician when they come on the call. So to say, okay, well, in your area, these types of symptoms that the patient has reported, there's about 5 to 6 other patients that have reported similar symptoms, right? You could even get down to the zip code. If it is something related to allergies, you could alert them to that. If it's something related to an environmental situation, you could alert them to that, right? Or if it was specific to that patient, let's say that patient has had 5 or 6 of such calls in the last 5 or 6 months, or even if it was 3 years earlier that patient had called about that issue, right? And a similar issue. So it's something to do about the time of the year that patient experiences this kind of thing, right? All of that intelligence could be passed to the physician to make a faster decision, to make a better decision, to make one that might have gotten missed in the past, right? So that's really where I think AI and machine learning is going to come in, and that way it gives more time to the patient, to the physician, to focus on the empathy, to focus on wellness, to focus on the emotional aspect of things that are happening within the call. So they can develop those types of skill sets also. In the future, certainly physicians may not be required to learn and kind of memorize all of these different types of permutations and combinations of things that could happen to a person. An artificial intelligence could certainly do that better, but I still think in the delivery of care, you need to have that human connection. You need to have it augmented by these types of technologies, but I wouldn't lose that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with your perspective. And those just tuning in, we're speaking with Neil Gomes, Chief Digital Officer for Thomas Jefferson University and Jefferson Health. So during the think tank, you spoke about your digital innovation and consumer experience groups. They call it DICE. And you mentioned a little bit today on reducing the friction in healthcare. Can you elaborate on that? What do you mean by that exactly? I love the term and I agree with you, but what do you mean by that specifically?
Fantastic. If you've been listening to this point, the folks that have been listening, you understand that we're very focused on design. We're very focused on being agile, right? Yes. But we're also focused on being great noticers. I always tell my team, I read this in a book somewhere about, the folks that invent a lot of things and the great inventors of our time were also great noticers of uncomfortable things. Right? Things that make you uncomfortable in processes, in your daily life and all of that. And they said, okay, why don't we do this a little bit better? So I like to see those things as being things that cause friction, right? And if you've ever interacted with health systems, you'll know that there is a lot of friction in healthcare, right? And some of it is inherent, some of it is because there's so many players in healthcare, some of it is, it's a complex field, right? So, but there's always a chance to reduce that friction, and that's something that is easy to also quantify. It's easy to say to someone, okay, do you see a point of friction here? In this entire process. And what do you mean by friction? Well, do you see a point where there is some inconvenience that is caused? There is some waiting. There is some delay. There is some consternation that you wouldn't otherwise see in other environments? Is there something here that you wouldn't even tolerate in other environments and other transactions that you that you undertake in your daily life, right? And so then it brings a lot out of those folks, that you're interacting with. Even patients, we raise this question with them. They're like, "Oh, I get it now. Let me tell you about all the points that that upset me." So it's not just a great way to engage the people that work with you, but it's also a great way to engage the people that experience some of this. And the takeaway I would say is that we need to become better noticers of that friction. It's very, very important. We are a high friction environment in healthcare and education, and there's so many opportunities in each of these little obstacles. There's a great book called The Obstacle is the Way, which talks about these types of things. A challenge is not really something to be disappointed about. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to bring about some change, develop something new, and create potentially some intellectual property behind it that you could use into the future. So I think that really gels well with people. It kind of gets them on the right foot, started on the right foot to solving problems. And we've had great conversations with clinicians, with developers, with designers when we start in this way. And I think everybody should start focusing on reducing friction in healthcare. It'd be such a great future for healthcare.
No, I love it. I completely agree. And I think some of my just personal investments have been around the consumer aspect of how healthcare is evolving. And I think part of it is reducing that friction. So I'm aligned with you 100%. So we talked today a little bit. We mentioned the future of healthcare. We certainly talked a lot about the future of healthcare during our health innovation think tank. But what would you say is one of the key principles for my audience here that we need to focus on as we, in our journey towards value-driven, consumer-focused, the future? What would you say? What are some key principles there? Your perspective.
Yeah, I think in healthcare, because it's a very people-centric, kind of system, that it's very, very important that before you develop any solution, you focus on experiencing the problem. That we found to be the most valuable thing for us. We have traditionally, most of IT is focused on, collecting a problem, evaluating whether the problem needs to be solved almost in a discrete kind of manner where, we have someone fill up a form, explain their problem, and then we will allocate resources based on governance processes and all of that. And all that's great. But the thing is, the experiencing of the problem gets shifted way too late in that process. It gets shifted to a point where somebody says, okay, this is high enough priority, or okay, your time has come up in this queue. Now we'll look at your problem. And after everybody's waited, there's been a lot of transactions back and forth, people submitting information, someone vetting, doing all of that stuff, lots of organizational time spent in that process. And then finally it reaches a point where someone can actually go out and experience the problem. And at that point, they might realize, wait a minute, this is not a problem really, or wait a minute, this could be solved by something else. And then everybody spent all that time, and sometimes that doesn't even happen. And that's even worse.
Yes.
Right? So I think, if you, the one key principle, if you want to develop value-driven, consumer-focused solutions, to affect that future in healthcare, we have to focus on experiencing the problem. Use this ethnographic research kind of method. Go out the moment someone comes up with something. Spend a little bit of time. It's not a lot, right? Flip that model a little bit. Where instead you say to them, okay, well, this is value-driven. Seems like is consumer-focused, right? Is valuable potentially to the organization. Let's go out and see the actual problem. And many times you'll be surprised how many problems you can even avoid solving, that don't need solving, because there is an existing solution already that's out there, or there's a slightly one tweak in a process that you can make that results in the same thing, or a much simpler solution than the client actually thought that's already out there, and then you're on to the next thing instead of having everyone spend a lot of time in an aggravating process. So I think that is one fundamental difference that we found in the way that we operate our team that we think might be a great key principle. We have actually about 12 principles that guide our team,
Oh, wow.
but I feel like this one is the most valuable to us.
Well, that one, I mean, to be honest, I mean, that's also just great, and not only great for your institution, for healthcare in general, but also just great for entrepreneurs. That's just great advice overall for people, building companies, building products, and so forth.
Right.
But I'm going to move into the kind of the lightning round. I got two more questions I want to get to, about 30-second answers a piece. And you got a lot of great experience. So what innovation or innovations do you see in the horizon that maybe we're not focused on today, or that you're looking to implement in the next 2 to 3 years at Thomas Jefferson and Jeff Health?
Okay. Well, I think the biggest innovation that most healthcare organizations need to invest in is something I mentioned right at the outset, and that is developing, to some extent, their flavor of a healthcare delivery platform that involves digital. I think that's tremendously important. That platform, the digital platform, is key to the future of most healthcare organizations, which is why we recognize it at Jefferson and we are investing in that space. I think other healthcare organizations need to do that too. A lot of the things we talked about, even design, even artificial intelligence and machine learning, the consumer focused side of things, those are all, well, not maybe the consumer focused, but everything else are mostly enablers. They're enablers. Even the digital platform itself is the enabler of the end result being a very, very consumer-focused solution that's going to be agile and that's going to address the specific needs of those consumers. They may not even know those needs right now, right? I'll give you a great example in retail, right? Amazon, for example, didn't say, oh, well, I want to be Six Sigma on this or something like that, right?
Yep.
What they said was, we want to be able to deliver a package in 2 days.
Right.
Okay, everything else needs to get behind that. Why? Because we think the consumer in 5 years from now is going to expect that, or is going to want that. Or it could be a way that they may not want that, they may not know they want that, but it would be a great way for us to differentiate ourselves, and we know we can build that into a competitive advantage, right? So let's do that now. So I think that's what healthcare also needs to do, and healthcare organizations is invest in that, maybe slightly unique to themselves, but that digital platform that's going to deliver that future for healthcare.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, we're at time. I appreciate it, my friend Neil. You are a terrific guest, very insightful, a lot of best practices, and just good guidance overall. So thank you very much for your time, my friend. And
thank you very much.
You got it. No, thank you. And thank you to everyone for listening and joining us today. Please tune in weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific. As always, you can track me on Twitter at HIT Advisor. You can use the hashtag ThisJustIn so you can respond to your comments from the show. In addition, all my content will be posted at justinbarnes.com. Thanks, everyone. Have a terrific week.